Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Abiyim. Welcome to our Kollel once again, Ahavat Yisrael. We're continuing, as mentioned, the part two of the Hanukkah series. Today, the shiur today is being learned for the Refuah Shalema of Noah bat Ortal, Ephraim ben Dvorah, Baruch Chai ben Miriam, Yaakov ben Yenya, and Florit bat Rachel. We're continuing in the time for lighting. Today is Hanukkah, the fourth day of Hanukkah. Tonight, Thursday night. Tonight is Thursday night. We're lighting 5 candles tonight. So we're starting with we're learning in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch. And those who have the Sefer at home can follow along. We're in Hilchot Hanukkah, and we're starting Sif Yud. The Yud is Zman Hadlaka, the time for lighting. When is the time for lighting the Hanukkah candles? So we know it's at night, but a person can't just pick any time of the night to light the candles. There's a very specific time and a time slot that the candles have to be lit during that time slot. Zman Hadlakan miyad b'tzeit hakochavim. So he says here the time for lighting the menorah is tzeit hakochavim, when the emerging of the stars. So this is 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 42 minutes after the Shkia, which today is around 5:15, 5:20, and that's the time that a person should light, and you're not allowed to be late for lighting of the candles. So today, for example, the time is between, let's say, 5:15, 5:20, and 5:30. So you shouldn't go past that time. You shouldn't wait until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then light the candle. It should be lit immediately at 5:30, and not be late for that. Asur lasot shum davar kodem hadlaka. And a person, furthermore, is not allowed to do any type of work that takes any kind of serious work. Before lighting, around the time comes lighting, we don't start house cleaning and doing the work, because that is the time to light, and we have to stop whatever we're doing in order to light the candles immediately at the right time. We're not only doing work, afilu lilmod. Even this person is learning. A person is learning Torah. They're learning b'chavruta. So they shouldn't be sitting and learning right before the time of lighting the menorah, the Chanukiah. The only thing is, if he not yet daven, he didn't pray Ma'ariv, so he should first pray Ma'ariv, and then he should light the candles immediately. And before a person lights, you should get everybody together, he says here. There's a big thing to get all the people in the house together. Everybody's doing their own thing. It's Hanukkah. People are playing maybe with their presents, or people are doing different things. On Hanukkah, when the time comes to light the Chanukiah, we call everybody come, stop what you're doing. Everybody come to the window and come to the menorah, and everybody should be standing around. Why? So why is that? So the whole idea of the hadlaka is persumini. So we said that the whole idea of lighting the menorah is in order to glorify the miracle, to show everyone, to make it famous. Persumini, to make the miracle famous. So the more people that are around while you're lighting your menorah, the better. So here, this is a very big halacha, that the shemen, that the oil that you put in, or the wax, the candles have to be long enough or big enough that they should light for a half an hour. There's a half an hour time. That is the time that you have the mitzvah of the Ner Hanukkah. During that half an hour, that's the first half an hour while they're lit. That is the time a person has the mitzvah. After that half hour, you don't need the candles anymore. You've done the mitzvah, you can put them out and you can save some oil for the next day or save the wicks. There's no problem after that half an hour. But it's very important that they should at least be lit for that half an hour. So people who buy the small, very very popular, the small thin colored Hanukkah candles. So I don't know how long those light for. I don't know if it says on the box how long they light for, but if they light for 20 minutes, it's no good. They have to be lit for a full half an hour. So in that case, it could be better to get thicker candles, as long as you make sure that the candles can be will stay lit for half an hour. So what if a person, he was busy, he wasn't able to light during that time exactly when the time came, 5:20, 5:30, whatever in the evening, when it's the time for lighting the candles, which is like we said, about 40 minutes after, 42 minutes I saw after the Shkia, which again is going to bring you to around 5:20, 5:30. So what if he didn't light at that time? So he says, Yachol adlik b'bracha kol zman shebeito neorim. So the condition is he can come home, if he comes home late, he's not able to get home on time, you're busy, so then the condition is as long as people in the home are still awake, you can light with the bracha. What if everyone's asleep already? Tuleka persumenisa, there you don't have any making the miracle famous. There's nobody to glorify, to make the miracle famous. Everybody's sleeping. So then it's yadlik below bracha. So in that case, you should at least do your mitzvah. You should light the menorah, but he says you should not make a bracha. The bracha is made when doing the mitzvah properly. And here you're not doing the mitzvah properly because there's nobody else besides you to see your lovely menorah. So in that case, like we said, you would light without the blessings. What if a person sees chacham einav v'rosho? It means he knows today I'm going to be coming home late. I'm not going to get home until, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock in the evening, whatever it is, for example. So if he knows that, so he can do something that is even much better, that he can light early. If he's able to light before he starts getting busy, or he won't be able to be there. So let's say around let's say he says plaga mincha. So let's say around 4 o'clock, 4:30. Comes 4 o'clock, 4:30. You can already light at that time. This is an hour and a quarter before the Tzeta Kochavim. So it's much earlier than 5. This is more like 4 o'clock. He can light. And also, b'mei Hanukkah shayamim k'tzarim ha'chayom aroch rak 10 sha'ot al ha'or az plag ha'mincha ve'yashan. Okay, b'vat shiten shemen, and this is the kunz. This is the trick that you have in those cases where we're lighting early. We're going to see this also on Friday for when you light on Friday afternoon. That we're lighting in the daytime, because we can't light on Shabbat, chas v'chalila, so we light in the daytime. This person also, he can light in the daytime, but the trick is you have to have a lot of oil or big candles, long candles, that they're going to stay lit well into the night. That the condition is that you have to have enough oil or wax that they should be lit for at least half an hour after the stars come out. That means it's Tzeta Kochavim. So we're saying say again the time the time for lighting the Chanukiah, 5:30, 6 o'clock has to be lit through those times. So here in this case, a person lights. He's going to be busy, so he can light the menorah early, even in the daytime, but you have to make sure that you have enough fuel that it's going to last well into the night. That's the idea. Yud Aleph. Seder Adlakatan. This is the procedure for lighting the Neirot Hanukkah. Seder Adlakan Kefi Minhagenu, according to our custom. So there's actually 3 different ways. There's 3 different customs. We have we chose the best custom, the most glorious custom, that it says really a person can fulfill the obligation of Hanukkah. There's 3 different ways. The first way is that one menorah in the whole house, and you light 1 candle every night. It's something nobody's seen. I've never seen this done. But these are all ways that are brought in the Gemara, that they're all actually good ways, and they could be used in time of need. So again, the first way is 1 menorah per household, and they would light 1 candle each night. That is the normal. That was considered a normal custom. And then there's mehadrin, those who beautify the mitzvah, and each person in the house would light a menorah, but only 1 candle every night. And then there's how we do it, mehadrin mina mehadrin. That's the best of the best way to do it. And that's that we add everybody in the house lights the menorah. We'll see, except for people who are patur, absolved from the mitzvah. Everybody lights their own menorah, and we add on a candle every night. That is called mehadrin mina mehadrin, and that's the custom that we all do today. Just that it's a proper time to say that if a person does not have enough candles, he has only a few candles, he doesn't have, it's the 5th night, he has 3 candles, whatever it is, he doesn't have enough. So you could do the mitzvah and you could say the brachot, you could light 1 candle and you're doing the mehadrin and you're yotze the mitzvah, the mehadrin. It's a uncommon halacha, and it could be used in times of need. People who are in the army and so on and so forth. I also heard from my Rav in New York, Rav Cantor used to say that in the army what they used to do is they said they're not allowed to light menorah. They don't have a wherewithal to light the fire to light candles. So in those cases, those people, those soldiers, they're able to light a flashlight. They can light up a flashlight, and they make the brachot, Asher Kedishanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu ladlik ner shel Chanukah, she'asa nisim la'avoteinu, b'yamim hahem b'zman hazeh. They say the 2 brachot, and they light up a flashlight. So the condition, though, with the flashlight, it has to be battery powered. It has to have something that the fuel is kala, that the fuel finishes off. If it's a light that you plug it into the wall, that's not good, because it has to have a certain amount of fuel. Why? As you might be guessing, because in the miracle of Hanukkah, the whole miracle from the oil, the oil miracle was that there was a certain amount of oil, and it was only supposed to last a certain amount of time, and it lasted well longer. It lasted for the whole 8 days. So the same thing when we light our Chanukiah, we also have to have a certain amount of oil. We can't have like an endless amount, like something that's plugged into a system that's pulling oil endlessly. It has to be a certain amount of oil. So the same thing you'd say with the flashlight, that it's a battery-powered flashlight. The battery has a certain amount of fuel to it, and so that was the heter that they gave to light a flashlight. It could be similar in a hospital, if a person's giving birth, so on and so forth, has a mazal tov. They're in the hospital, they need to light the ner Chanukah. Again, you could light with the flashlight. The ones that you plug into the wall, you would not be able to make a bracha on, because just like we said, it has an unlimited amount of fuel, and that is no good for the ner Chanukah. So if you're plugging into the wall, would not be good. But if you have a flashlight handy, then you could light the flashlight and make the brachot for the ner Chanukah. Very interesting and good to know halacha. So the simple custom for today, the way we light the Chanukiah today, Balayla Rishon Madlik Haner Shekeneged Yemino. So first of all, we're going to learn about there's another light that's called the Shamash. Everybody knows the Shamash is a separate light that's used for benefiting from, since we cannot benefit from the Nerot Hanukkah. So the Shamash is used in case that we need a fire, or it brightens the house when it's dark, and we're not considered that the candles are brightening the house because we have the ner of the Shamash. So the Shamash, we should go ahead and light it before doing anything. We set up the candles. We add the candles in we set them in, we put them in from right to left, and we light them from left to right. So it's pretty easy to remember. Put in the candles, you add them in left to right. You're facing the menorah. You add them in from the right to the left. Each time you add one on the left, and when you light them, we light the one that is all on the left first, and we go towards the right. On the first night, we light the candle, which is the first candle that's on the right, all the way on the right. And the second night, you add a second candle to the left of it. And every night, you add on another candle to the left. And you always light the new candle first. So the candle that's always on the left, you always light first. Tonight is the 5th night of Hanukkah, so we're going to put in 5 candles in the menorah, and we're going to light the one all the way on the left, the brand new one first, and then we light as we go to the right.
Does it matter how we put the candles on?
No. So you could put them in any way. That's a very good question. You could put them in any way you like, but what we're talking about when you're adding in, when you're putting them in, you're adding right to left. You're adding them in. You always add one on the left. That's what we meant. The new candle is always added on the left, and it's always lit first, like we just learned. Yud Beit is talking about the blessings that we say when we light the menorah. Beleil Rishon Mevarech Amadlik Kodem Adlaka Gimel Brachot. On the first night, before lighting the candles, the person says 3 blessings. Ladlik, that's Ladlik Ner Shel Chanukah, and somebody told me today that not all people say Shel Chanukah, that many people say Asher Kedishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu ladlik ner Chanukah. So you should ask your parents or your rabbi, whatever it is, which nusach should you say? Should you be saying ladlik ner shel Chanukah or ladlik ner Chanukah? It's a side point. That's one bracha. That's the first bracha. And then the second bracha we say Sha'asa Nisim. That's Ruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avoteinu bayamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. That is the second bracha. So again, we're saying on the first night. So we have a third bracha on the first night that we say She'achiyanu. We say Ruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam she'achiyanu v'kiyimanu v'giyanu lezman hazeh. But that's only said the first time we do the mitzvah, which is usually supposed to be on the first night. What if a person did not say the She'achiyanu on the first night? You remember the first night he said, I said only 2 brachot, I didn't say She'achiyanu. So whenever you remember, whatever night you remember on, you can say the She'achiyanu, or if you did not, you were anus, you were not able to light the first few nights. And the first time you're able to light is only on the 3rd night. No problem. You light your 3 candles, and you say all the 3 brachot. The first time, anytime it's the first time you're lighting the Chanukiah, you'd say all 3 brachot. Ubishar haleilot eno mavarech she'achiyanu. In all the other nights, you do not say she'achiyanu, the 3rd bracha. La'achar shebiracha brachot madlik ner echad ve'od shemadlik ha'acharot omer hanerot halalu. So then we said are either 3 blessings on the first night or 2 blessings every other night. Then once we say the blessings, that's when we start to light. We shouldn't light before saying the blessings. We have over la'asiyatan. We always say the bracha, like we've learned in other halachot. We always say the bracha immediately before doing the mitzvah, or while doing the mitzvah. So by Ner Chanukah, we say the blessings before lighting the Chanukiah, and then while we start, we light 1 candle without saying anything, and while we're lighting the other candles, you could say Hanerot Halalu. That's when we say Hanerot Halalu, Anu Madlikim, and we say the whole Hanerot Halalu. Some people say it while they're lighting the rest of the candles, and some people say it after lighting all the candles. Onain, so Rahman al somebody who had a relative pass away, and the person the person that passed away is not yet buried. That's called onain. Onain has special halachot. He's not chayav. He's patur b'mitzvot, and most of the mitzvot he's exempt because he has to take care of his mate mitzvah. So he says onain Rahman al Im yesh acher. Now it's Hanukkah, and he's a onain. Yadlik acher b'brachot. So someone else should light the Ner Chanukah. He should not light his Ner Chanukah. Someone else should light the Ner Chanukah. Bileka acher. What if there's nobody else there? So yadlikhu below brachot. So then he should light the Chanukiah without the blessings.
Yes. Quick question: Is it both male and female can light, or is there an obligation only for the man to light?
Very good question. So we have the special in Hanukkah. We spoke about the women, and we're going to speak more about it. That the women, that when it's tough times, when the goyim are making decrees on the Jewish people, it's usually much worse for the women. The Jewish women are notably beautiful, both to us and to all the nations, and by Hanukkah it was much more difficult for them. So they are chayav in the mitzvah. Women are chayav in this mitzvah, even though normally they would be patur because it's zman grama. Mitzvah taseh zman grama, a positive mitzvah that is time bound. So women would be patur. They would be absolved and not have to do the mitzvah. But since that nes happened through Yehudit, the nes happened through a woman, and the women were particularly saved, like we just said. So they are also chayav, just like men, and not only that, we'll see they can be motzi, a man, and so on and so forth. So everybody, we said the last year, everybody in the house is lighting their own menorah, and we're going to see again over those children over 9 years old, and everyone is lighting, except for the wife if the husband is lighting, and the husband if the wife is lighting. So the husband and the wife, to answer your question, they go together. And if a wife lights, then the husband does and she says the brachot. The husband, it's not so easy. The husband can't just light somewhere else with the brachot. And we'll see these halachot are also coming up. Okay, Yud Gimel. Yud Gimel is talking about the lighting, hadlaka oseh mitzvah, that the lighting fulfills the obligation. That's the time that you're lighting, that's when you have the mitzvah. And we'll see the reason and what comes out of this. So, hadlaka oseh mitzvah, the lighting does the mitzvah. That's when it does the mitzvah. Perush hadlaka ya mitzvah. The lighting, that's the mitzvah. Ushat hadlaka tzrichin liot hanerot b'mkoman ha'ruik shiur ha'ru'ui. And therefore, at the time of lighting the menorah, everything has to be set up properly. It has to be in the right place. We learned there's a certain height. It can't be too low to the ground. It has to be at least 3 tfachim off the ground. It should be like yud tfachim. It shouldn't be way up. Whatever it is, you can't light it and then put it in the right place. It has to be in the right place first, and then you can light it. Because at the time of lighting, that's when the mitzvah happens. If you did that, if there was in the wrong place, or the candles were not set up properly, like we'll see, if they didn't have enough oil, if they weren't set up properly, it's too high, too low, it's wrong, and then you light it, you can't fix it afterwards. It has to be set up properly before lighting it. That's the idea. Like we just said, if there was not enough oil in the menorah at first and you went to light it, and there's not enough, there's only enough for 10 minutes, you need a half an hour's worth of oil or wax, and you only have 10 minutes and you already lit them, it's a problem. You can't just add in more oil, because like we said, at the time of lighting, it has to be proper. It has to have enough fuel in there at the time of lighting it. The same thing if you put it in a bad place. What's another bad place to put the menorah? In a place where there's wind. The wind is blowing, it's going to blow them out. It's for sure going to blow out the candles before a half an hour. The mitzvah, we know that the Chanukiah has to be lit for a half an hour. So you put it in the wind, it's going to go out. So lo kiyama mitzvah, you don't have any mitzvah. You did not do the mitzvah over there because you put it in a place where the wind is going to blow out the candles. And in that case, if a person did that by mistake, so the wind blows out all the candles, so you have to light them again. But you don't make another bracha. You don't make the bracha 2 times. We never make the bracha 2 times. If you said the bracha and you have to light again, it's always going to be without a bracha. So in that case, you would add more shemen. You could add more oil or wax, candles, and then you could relight them without a blessing. But what happens the other way around? What happens if you put it properly? Everything was put properly. It's the right height. It's not in a place where they're going to go out. It's everything is done kosher v'yasher. You did everything perfectly. But then something happened. Then comes a wind. A strong wind comes. Boom! Blows out all your candles. And after 10 minutes. So in that case, kvar kiyama mitzvah, you already did your mitzvah. As long as when you did the mitzvah, when you lit, just like we're saying, this is l'chumra and l'kula. When you did the mitzvah, when you lit it, you had enough, and everything was good. So you're good, even if it didn't go for the 30 minutes. But still, the custom is today, since you're allowed to, we go ahead and relight them. We would relight them even though you kiyama mitzvah. It means if you don't have to relight them, because you did everything, you did what you were supposed to do. You put the menorah in the right place, you had plenty of shemen, you had everything correct, and then it went out for some reason. So you don't have to relight them, you still have your mitzvah. But the custom is we do relight them. And finishes here that we're machmir, we do not light one candle from another. Like we said, we have the shamash. We have the shamash, that's the attendant, that's a separate candle that we use. That's the candle that we use to light other candles with. We don't light from one candle to another. The next seif, Yud Daled. Kozman mitzvatan dahainu chatzi sha'a asur lainot bi'aran. The whole time of the mitzvah, like we said, the whole mitzvah is only half an hour. After the half an hour, you don't need the candles. You can blow them out. You keep the more oil for the next day, and we said you can use the wicks for the next day as well. After the half an hour, you don't need it. You can blow it out. So, but that half hour is very fundamental. That half hour, everything has to be right. It has to be. So one halakha for that half hour that they're lit, you're not allowed to use them. After half an hour, you're allowed to use them. But during that half an hour, you're not allowed to use them at all. That means if the house is dark and you walk into the house and it's dark and the menorah is lit, the menorah is lighting up your house, that's no good because that's called getting benefit from them. You're only allowed lirotam bilvad. You're only allowed to see them. It's a big mitzvah to look at the candles. We get special kiddusha. It's a segula. We get special holiness looking at the candles during that half hour. It says we have Rabbi Yoram Dahan and others teaching Kabbalah. That it's the Ora Ganuz, this is the hidden light that Hashem hid away for the tzaddikim in Breshit. When Hashem hid away the light for the tzaddikim, so that light comes through in the Ner Hanukkah. There's a special holy light that if we look at this light, it's a very holy thing, and we're not allowed to benefit from them though. So if you walk into a dark house and the candles are lighting up the house, it's no good. That's why we have l'chein noagin laniach etzlan et hashamash. That's why we have the shamash. Literally the servant or the attendant that's standing around, that if anybody needs light or you need fire, you take it from the shamash. And therefore also if you walk into a house that is dark and the candles are lighting up the house, we can be somech, rely on the light that's coming from the shamash, that's what's lighting up the house as well, and everything's okay. It's not called benefiting from the nerot. The shamash has to be, he says here, higher. I think it could be also lower or higher, but he says here higher. It should be not in the same line as the candles. So your candles are here all in one line, like we said. They can't be different heights and different and different things. We learned that in the last shiur. So here you have your row of candles, and then the shamash would be on one of the ends. It would be all the way. It would be like an inch higher or something, half an inch higher or an inch higher than the rest of the candles. So you have a row of candles, and you have your shamash sticking up. And that is the reason we separate it is so if you're lighting 5 candles like tonight and you have the shamash, it's going to look like 6 candles. And it's not allowed to, everybody has to know, it has to be clear for somebody walking outside, sees your menorah, they have to see that you're lighting 5 candles, and it shouldn't look like the wrong number of candles. That's why we separate the shamash from the rest of the candles, by making it higher or lower or separate. Tedvav. This is the lighting of the menorah that we do in the Beit Knesset. Madlikin nerot bebeit Knesset mishum pirsumei nisa. So we said the reason that we light the Chanukiah is to make the miracle famous. And what a better time to make something famous than at shul when everybody's gathered around in shul. And therefore it came to the custom in the halacha that we light the nerot Chanukah, we light a Chanukah, the menorah in shul also. In Beit Knesset, when we're davening, praying mincha, in Aravit, also in Shacharit, Umenichan b'kotel darom. And he says you put them on the southern wall. That's where the menorah is placed in the Beit Knesset. Madlikin ben mincha l'ma'ariv. And we light them between mincha and ma'ariv. So why between mincha and ma'ariv? Really, you should light after ma'ariv. That's the right time to light the candles, after ma'ariv. So they say that people are in a rush to get home. Once you pray ma'ariv, already it's nighttime, you want to run home because it's already time to light the candles. So we don't want to stand around in shul when they're lighting the candles, since we also have to light at home. It's not like this. You're not yotze. You don't fulfill the obligation when they're lighting the menorah in the Beit HaKnesset. It's like you can't say like in shul Havdalah, like the Shabbat. The same thing, like by Havdalah, you can make Havdalah in Beit Knesset, and you don't have to make Havdalah at home. So that's not the case. When they light the menorah, you still have to light at home. You're not yotze. Yes.
So what if you're doing mincha marav, you're in synagogue and you light the menorah, but you already finished your tefillah and it's still burning and everyone wants to leave. Can you put it out? Because you're still obligated to do it at home.
Yes, that's very good. So
you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, so like we're learning the whole thing is a half an hour, and after the half an hour you can put them out regardless. Are you asking before the half an hour?
Yeah,
So that's a good question. I'm not 100% sure. I've been the gabbai in Beit Knesset, and I've been the one lighting, and I remember the rabbi saying that it's best if somebody stays around for half an hour. Since you made the brachot, you made the blessings on the candles, and in doing the mitzvah properly, that's a half an hour, and so we need to get home. And you don't want to leave the candles lit, so it could be that you could put them out before the half an hour, since it's not the real. You're not yotzing the mitzvah. Good question.
Sure.
So like we said, you have to you have to go home and you have to light the candles at home. We're not yotze. We don't fulfill the obligation from that to light the menorah in Beit Knesset. We have to light it at home as well. Umishu avel, Rachmana litzlan lo yadlik b'layla rishona Beit Knesset. Well, someone who's avel. What if somebody's in their 12-month mourning period for somebody's in the 12-month mourning period for a relative? So they're not allowed to say a shechianu in public. So what should they do? Lo yadlik b'layla rishona Beit Knesset. The first night when everybody's saying shechianu v'kiyimanu v'giyanu zman hazeh, don't be there at that time in the Beit Knesset. They should go home before they light. So he should go home, and he's allowed to say shechianu by himself. He's allowed to say avel. That's the halacha. Someone who's in the mourning period, they don't say shechianu in public, but they could say it privately at home. So they should not, on the first night, they should not light in the Beit Knesset. The avel, someone who's in mourning, should go home and light the candles at home, so they could say shechianu at home. Ted Zayin. This is talking about who's obligated to light on the Ner Hanukkah. So it says Nashim Chayavot b'Ner Hanukkah. So just like we So just like we elaborated on in the last shiur at length, that women were saved. The women were saved much more than the men. The decrees when the goyim come and they start doing bad things to the Jewish people. So first of all, it's the women that suffer. So that was exactly the case in the Ner Hanukkah. We learned all the terrible gezerot that happened to the women, and then the whole miracle of Hanukkah happened through a woman. That means Yehudit. The whole miracle happened in the story of Hanukkah and the story of Yehudit, and therefore the women have a special angle on the mitzvot of Hanukkah. So they are definitely chayav. Like we said, they should not be chayav, because we know that women are absolved, they're exempt from any mitzvah that is time bound. There is a positive commandment that's time bound. So this is a positive commandment. You have to light, and it's time bound. We're lighting on the days of Hanukkah, so that's time bound. So, but they still are definitely chayav for the reasons that we said. This is similar to on Passover. And the Dalet Kosod we have on the 4 cups of wine and the mitzvot of the Leila Seder and Pesach. We have also over there the Gemara also says Shafen Ayu Ba'oto Anes, that they also had a special place. They played a special role in the miracle in the times of Passover. The same thing in the times of Chanukah, as we explained. Yucholai Isha Ladlik Ba'ad Kol B'nei Beita, and therefore a woman, since she's fully obligated, she can fulfill the obligation for everyone in her house. She can light, and everyone else can listen and watch and say Amen, and everybody can be yotzei the obligation through the wife, including the husband. Like we'll see that if a husband is in a different place, that he can light, but he can't make up his own bracha. If his wife is lighting at home, that's it. He's yotzei with the wife is lighting at home. If he wants to light, he cannot make a blessing because he's yotzei with his wife's lighting. Vikatan shigia chinuch gam ken chayav. So we have a special thing here also. So usually we have a mitzvot, we have a bar mitzvah. When a person is bar mitzvah, that's when we start to do that. You're chayav in the mitzvot. We don't say that somebody's less than bar mitzvah is chayav in any mitzvot because he's not yet a bar mitzvah. But here it's different, because this was the gzera, the decree was on all of Bnei Israel, men, women, and children. And the children here, 9 years. That's the obligation. 9 years and older. If a kid is 9 years old, chayav, he's obligated to light the menorah. He should, like we learned before, he should have his own menorah. All the children in the house that are over 9 years old should have their own menorah and light their own menorah, and just like everybody else with all of the brachot. So summa, what about summa, a blind person? So we know that the rule is that there's 3 types of people that are patur in the mitzvot. It's a cheresh, shoteh, v'katan. A cheresh, that's a deaf person. He can't hear. He's a deaf person, so that's a cheresh. Shoteh is a person he can't think properly. His mind doesn't function properly, so he's called shoteh, and also is patur. The katan, and someone who's a katan, like we said here, would be someone who's under 9 years old. But what about a blind person? So it's kind of an in-between category. So he should also take place. So here he has a special problem, because the whole mitzvah is to see the neirot, and he's blind. He's not able to see the neirot. So what should he do? What do you think, Aviv? What could a blind person do to make the mitzvah of Hanukkah?
Say Hashem's name in vain.
So it says here. So what he should do, he should give a little bit of money. He should give $1 or whatever, 50 cents to the person who's bought the candles, and therefore he has a part. He has a chelik. He has a part in the mitzvah. That would be the best way for a blind person to do the mitzvah, by giving some money and participating in the hotzaot, and the cost of the oil and the wicks. And if this blind person has a wife, she lights for him. What if he doesn't have either? He doesn't have a wife. He's a blind person. He doesn't have a wife, and he has a special house. He's obligated in the mitzvah of Ner Chanukah, and he doesn't have anybody else to give some money to take part in their mitzvah Ner Chanukah. So instead, he should light by himself but he should light with the help of someone else. A blind person should never light, obviously, candles by himself, but if someone else is helping him, then he could light with all the brachot just like everybody else. See, if you had Zion, this is talking about lighting on the Ner Chanukah on Friday and on Motzei Shabbat. Be'erev Shabbat madlikin tchila Ner Chanukah. V'achar kach Ner Shabbat. So on Friday, we first light the Ner Chanukah and then the Ner Shabbat. U'levad she'eh la'achar plag mincha. So Friday, very, very important. So we said, like we learned in the Hilchot Shabbat, that a person lights, normally the candles 18 minutes, lights the Shabbat candles 18 minutes before Shabbat. So now you have 18 minutes for the Shabbat candles before Shabbat. Now you want to light your Ner Chanukah, so that's going to be, let's say, further, half an hour before Shabbat. So we don't want to get anywhere close to the Shabbat when it comes to the Ner Chanukah. And if someone got too close to the Shabbat, just like we said with the Ner Shabbat, that you would not light the Shabbos candles if it's already Shabbat. The same thing, you would not light the menorah if it's already Shabbat. Chas v'shalom, we wouldn't break the Shabbat to light the Chanukiah. And for a man also, he has to get to Beit Knesset. So it's really a big rush on Friday for men, especially for women as well, preparing the Shabbat, that we have to have everything in place. We have to light the Chanukiah while it's still light outside, and we have plenty of time to then still light the Ner Shabbat, and we shouldn't be doing it in a rush, so we shouldn't come to make mistakes. So he says again, Tchila Ner Chanukah v'achar kach Ner Shabbat. First the Ner Chanukah on Friday, and then the Ner Shabbat. Ubilvad she'eh la'achar plag mincha. It has to be after plag mincha, so it can't be too early in the day. You can't start lighting 2 o'clock and then 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But when it comes close to plag mincha, so more closer, 3, 4 o'clock, so you could already, I'm not saying the exact times, the person has to figure it out, or ask the rabbi, when is the plag mincha every day? And we said it's an hour and 15 minutes before Tzeit HaKochavim. So let's say, for example, if it would be 4:30. So instead of lighting at 5:30, like we're doing every day of Hanukkah, lighting around 5:20, 5:30, on Friday we're going to light a whole hour earlier. We're going to light we can light it like 4:30. But what's the problem? You have to make sure you have enough fuel. But you have to have enough fuel. Tzarich she'iten shemen kidei she'yadliku ad chatzi sha'a la'achar tzeit hakochavim. You have to have enough oil or enough fuel, wax, whatever you're using, longer candles. People on Friday for Hanukkah, we use long candles. If you light with candles, use longer candles. If you light with oil, make sure you have plenty of oil. You have to have enough oil. You're lighting in the daytime, but you have to have enough oil or fuel that it should last for half an hour after Tzeit HaKochavim. So, well into the night. You want to have enough oil that it should burn well into the night, even though you're lighting, like we said, when it's broad daylight outside. If you did not have enough fuel, if you lit at early in 4:30 and it comes 5:30, it's the Shkia and the Nerot are already going out, so you did not have your half hour of nighttime lit, so then you do not have the mitzvah in that case. So please make sure, we have to make sure that we have enough fuel on Friday that it should light well into the night. So we said that in places, in the olden days, they didn't put the menorah in the window. They used to put it, you know where they used to put it, the menorah, in the olden days? Anyone?
In the public.
Yes, in the door entrance, in the doorway, or in the entrance to the public entrance ways. So if they used to put it in the public entrance ways, and we said in Eretz Yisrael, in places, maybe even in other concentrated Jewish communities in New York and in different places, that if it's all, the whole problem is that they're goyim around. We put it in the window. The reason we put it in the window is because they're goyim outside. We don't want the goyim to say, why are these people lighting fires outside or in their doorways or whatever, causing any problems. We want shalom. We light it inside. But those people who have the custom, like they did in the olden days, like we said in Eretz Yisrael, many people still do. They still light in the entranceways. So on Shabbat, you're going to have a problem. You have to make sure that there should be something that should be protecting the candles, that the wind shouldn't put them out on Shabbat. Because that would be like breaking the Shabbat. We're not allowed to make a fire on Shabbat, and we're not allowed to put out a fire on Shabbat. So if you put a fire in a situation where it's going to get put out, so that is not allowed on Shabbat. So you have to make sure, if you're lighting them in a place where there's wind, so on Shabbat make sure they're covered from the wind, so that we don't come to break the Shabbat with the Hanukkah candles. So that's Friday. So what about Motzei Shabbat? Motzei Shabbat is a little bit complicated as well. When do we light the Chanukiah on Motzei Shabbat, on Saturday night? Mishu eino bebeito elo b'makom acher. Oh, sorry. Yudchet. B'motzei Shabbat. Mavdilin ve'achar kach madlikin ner Chanukah. So he says here the minhag pashut, the simple way is you make Havdalah and then you light the ner Chanukah. So Havdalah and then ner Chanukah. Beit HaKnesset madlikin kodem v'yiten lecha. In Shul, in Beit Knesset, in Ma'ariv, we say, we light the candles at the end of Arvit before we say v'yiten lecha. So I saw that the Mishnah Berurah explains that what should go first on Saturday night. So Havdalah or Ner Chanukah. So we just said Havdalah goes first, but there's reasons also that the Ner Chanukah should go first, because it's waiting. It's already time. It's time already. It's well time already. It's dark outside, and we have to get home to light. So people say the Havdalah in Shmona Esrei in Ma'ariv. We say Atachon Antanu. That's like saying Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. When someone says Baruch HaMavdil, and we say this in Shmona Esrei, we say the Havdalah, so a person can do work already. So he said his Havdalah in Shmona Esrei, he could come home, he could light the Ner Chanukah immediately, and many people do this as well for the Chibuv mitzvah. They run to do the Ner Chanukah, making Havdalah on the coast. You're going to make a Havdalah and a cup of wine until you get everybody together. Havdalah, everybody come together. The whole thing, the Havdalah could take you, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. You're losing precious time. So therefore, some people would light the Ner Chanukah before making the Havdalah ala kos. So Mishnah Berurah says either way is fine. You can't lose. Yud Tet is talking about travelers. If somebody's traveling on Hanukkah, you're not at home. So how should that person behave? How should he do on Hanukkah? Mishu einu bebeito, elo b'makom acher. He's not at home. He's at a different place. Im yodea sheishto madleket bebeito, yadlikhu b'makom shehu below brachot. If he knows that his wife is at home and she's lighting the menorah at home with all the brachot, so he's yotzei with that. He can light if he wants to light like everybody else. He wants to feel like he's lighting. He can light his own menorah, but he does not make a bracha because he is yotzei. He is fulfilling the obligation automatically with that his wife is lighting at home, and she's saying the blessings and lighting at home. So he can light, but he says here, Kitzur Shulchan Aruch says he would light without a brachot, without saying the blessings, without the brachot. וטוב אם אפשר שישמע תחילה את הברכות ממי שמדליק שם ויכוון לצאת בברכותיו יענה אמן. The best would be if he's at somewhere else. So he has a problem, his wife is lighting at home, he can't light his own menorah with the brachot, so but he wants to light, he's lighting his own menorah. So what's the best way to do it? He lights his own menorah, and other people that are lighting their menorah, and they make the brachot, so he can have kavanah that I wants to be yotzei. I also feel my obligation with the brachot that they're saying, and he says amen to their brachot, and he can light his own menorah with someone by answering to someone else's blessings. Because again, he can't light his own like normally because his wife is lighting for him at home, and he can't make light with the blessings normally. Shouldn't be a bracha levatala because he's fulfilling the obligation through his wife's lighting at home. So the blessings are already said. You're not allowed to say blessing that you don't have to say. So he has the problem. He's not allowed to say the blessing. So he can hear someone else's blessing and say amen to someone else's blessing. What if his wife is not lighting at home? The wife is not lighting at home for whatever reason. Or bachurim, teenagers, bachurei shiva, whatever, kids that are somewhere else. They're traveling. They're not at home. They're at an inn or where they're at. To say bunch of guys at an inn. What should we do? So they have to light with the brachot. They have to light the Hanukkah with the blessings. Or like we said many times, we said this also on the Ner Shabbat. We said if a person is a guest for Shabbat, that he can give a pruta, you can give $1, a quarter, give some money, give some change to the Baal Habayit, and then you have a part in the mitzvah. So the same thing on Hanukkah. Also, that would be the best way to get out of this. That you're not home. You're at a place. You're not at your normal place. You're not at home, and you want to do the mitzvah Hanukkah. So if someone else is doing it, so you could give them some money towards the oil and the wicks. And now that the Baal Bayit, the owner, has been paid a little bit of money for the oil, he put a little extra oil for the extra person. He got paid, so you should put a little extra oil, a little longer wicks, whatever, for the extra person that is participating. And furthermore, people who are if people are lighting, they're in an inn, or people are lighting all over you're at an inn and people are lighting all over the place. So just like we learned in the last shiur, every menorah has to be separate. Keep that in mind. Each menorah has to be placed separately. We don't put one menorah next to another menorah, because then it's confusion on how many neros do you see and how many candles are being lit for that day. So each menorah should be separate. So what about this? You're in your own town. You're a guest by someone else. You're visiting your friend, and now you started visiting around whatever during the daytime and something. Now it's coming 5:30. So what should you do? Should you light at your friend's house, or should you go home and light? So he says here, tzarich lashuv leveito ulahadlik. Person in that case, you have to go home. If you're near home, we don't just light at a friend's house. Near ish ubeito. That's what it's called. The mitzvah Hanukkah is that near ish ubeito, that a person has in his house, he has the nerot Hanukkah lit at home. So that's not the mitzvah that he should have the nerot Hanukkah lit at someone else's home. It's a mitzvah he should have them lit at his home. So therefore, if a person is out and it comes the time to light, you should go home and light. There's cases. In these kind of cases, what if a person is having the meal? He's going to eat dinner at the other person's house. He's going to be staying there. So it could be also has to go home. Maybe only if he's sleeping. If he's sleeping over, or you're having dinner, so then you could light the candles at the other person's house. But in all of those cases, even if you're staying there and having dinner or sleeping over, you should always ask a rabbi, ask a chacham, authority. I'm not going to be home on this night of Hanukkah. What should I do? And it could get the laws could get complex. And therefore, we should ask. Yes.
Including on that, what if you're flying that night?
you're going to be in a plane. You're in a plane. So we learned about flashlight, using a flashlight. If you can't light candles on a plane. If I was getting on a plane, I'd probably you take a flashlight and then you can put it. You might very well be able to light the flashlight with the blessings, with the brachot, because like we said, a flashlight is kosher for the Ner Chanukah. We don't use flashlights. We use fire. That's the right way to do it. But a flashlight also makes fire, and it has the right amount. It has a certain amount of fuel, and it's kosher. So, how's that? Maybe you take your flashlight onto the plane, and then you could light on the plane. In all those cases, though, getting on a plane, traveling, you would always ask your local Orthodox rabbi and see what you should do in those cases. Finishing off here, the chaf. Chaf is talking about the oil, leftover oil. What do you do after Hanukkah? The oil and the wicks that are left over after Hanukkah, you should make a little fire out of it carefully and burn them. They should be burned. I'm sure if they're not burned, I think if you throw them out carefully in a proper way, that's not disgusting. So you could throw them out probably as well. It says here to burn them, but the main idea is they cannot be used. Hukzu lemitzvatam. That means they become muktzah. They become set aside for the mitzvah. Once these wicks for the mitzvah. You can't use it for anything else. You can't say there's a little shemen left, there's little oil. Let me use it. Let me put it on my hands. It's winter. You can't use the oil or the wicks. They should be burned or carefully put away in a way that they won't be used. Kaf Aleph is talking about the tefillot, the davening of Hanukkah. We know we add in a special tefillah in the davening, both in the tefillah in Shmona Esrei and in Birkat Hamazon. We add al hanisim. Kol Shmonai me Chanukah omrim b'Shmona Esrei al hanisim. In all the 8 days of Hanukkah, we say add in the blessing al hanisim. We add into the Shmona Esrei the blessing of al hanisim. ואם שכח ולא אמרו, אם נזכר קודם שמר את השם ברכת הטוב ושמך, חוזר ומתחיל על הניסים, אבל אם לא נזכר אחר שמר השם, גומר את הברכה. So then, what if you're in Shmona Esrei, and you're supposed to say al hanisim right after modim, anachnu lach, we say al hanisim v'al purkan v'al grut, and you didn't say that, and you remembered, so the halacha is, if you remember before you conclude the bracha, that ends with hatov shimcha ulechana elehodot. If you remember before saying that bracha, you could go back and then you say al hanisim and continue as normal. If you remember after saying that bracha, tov shimcha l'chana lehodot, like in the last bracha of Shalom Rav, towards the end of Shmona Esrei, you remembered. So then, if you said Baruch Atah Hashem, already you said the name Hashem for the bracha of hatov shimcha l'chana lehodot. It's already too late. You say, just continue, Hatov Shimcha L'chana Lehodot, and we do not go back, we do not repeat Shmona Esrei for the Al Hanisim. In Birkat Hamazon, if you did not say yet the bracha, the exact same rule applies. This is the bracha, if you did not say Al Haaretz V'Al Hamazon. If you did not say the bracha Al Haaretz Baruch Atah Hashem Al Haaretz V'Al Hamazon, then you can go back and you say Al Hanisim V'Al Purkan V'Al Grut, and you say the whole Hanisim, and you can continue. But if you already concluded the bracha of Al Haaretz Al Hamazon in benching in Birkat Hamazon, you already finished Al Haaretz Al Hamazon, then we do not repeat the benching. There's you could say Harachaman Uyaseh Lanu Nisim by the times by the Harachamans. There's a special, some Sidurim have this. There's a special, if you forgot in benching to say the Al Hanisim, you could say Harachaman Yaseh Nisim Kasher Asel Avoseinu V'Yavotenu B'Yamim Ha'im Hazman Hazeh Al Hanisim V'Al Purkan V'Al Gruot V'Al Tishuot. You could say it in the Rachamans. I also heard from my rabbi once that the same thing in Shmona Esrei. If a person missed Al Hanisim, you want to say Al Hanisim, and it's time, they said you don't go back, you don't repeat Shmona Esrei, so you can say it at the end. It's not, there's no bracha in Al Hanisim, and you're allowed to say. You're allowed to say it. So you can say it before the end of Shmona Esrei. So l'chora you could say the Yulu Ratzon Imrei Fi at the end of Shmona Esrei. Yulu Ratzon Imrei Fi v'Agen Libi Hashem Tzuri V'Goali, and then Al Hanisim V'Al Purkan V'Al Grut again, and you can finish it at the end of Shmona Esrei. It's not the right place. It's not considered that you said Al Hanisim in the right place, but you could still chapara. You could still say it. The rest of the halachot here. We're talking about the Torah readings for Hanukkah. We're going to leave that for the Beit Knesset. Just one thing I'll say, that this to conclude this Shabbat Hanukkah is going to be Rosh Chodesh. There's a special inyan, and when Shabbat is Rosh Chodesh and Hanukkah. So then not only you take out 2 Sefer Torahs, one for the Parshat HaShavua and one for Hanukkah. Now we need 3 Sifrei Torah. We take out all 3, or we take out 3 Sefer Torahs from the Aron, and we take out all 3. And I learned there's a special segula. Again, more the Kabbalists and those people can explain more about this. But when they in the Beit Knesset, when they're taking out 3 Sifrei Torah, that is an 8th Ratzon that you have to wait. Sometimes you have to wait a whole year to get this, and not every year do we have this where we take out 3 Sifrei Torah, and I saw and I heard that when they're taking out the Shlosha Sifrei Torah, the 3 Sifrei Torah in Beit Knesset, a person can ask for anything at that time. You guys got it? You can ask for a person for Shidduchim, for Briut, for anything. That's the time when they're taking out the 3 Sifrei Torah. It says that's the Sugula, it's the 8 Ratzon She'en Kamo. There's different 8 Ratzon throughout the year, but this is a real one. This is a special 8 Ratzon that a person can ask for anything that he wants. Everyone should be zoch. We should merit to get the light of Hanukkah into our neshamot, and the Ner Hanukkah should fix any blemishes that we have in our neshamot. We should all be raised through the lights of Hanukkah, us and our children and our children's children, everybody we know. We're wishing everybody a blessed Hanukkah and a Shabbat Shalom until the next shiur. Thank you very much.